Welcome to the State of Wyoming Subject Matter Minute, where we cover a wide variety of subjects related to State of Wyoming employment. This information is for you and me, the state employee. From hidden benefits to systems and processes, we'll make your job easier by giving you the lowdown, the how-to, and hopefully entertain you a bit along the way. And now, today's Subject Matter Minute.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Subject Matter Minute. Congratulations on surviving another trip around the sun. Welcome to 2022, also known as COVID Year 3. I'm going to get back to COVID, but first, I want to say that I hope everyone had a great holiday season. I know it's been a little while, but I've been meaning to record this for a while, so that's where I'm at. I'm hoping that none of you were part of the thousands that got their flights canceled and had to spend your holiday on a smelly coffee-stained carpet at the airport. I know a lot of people did. Hopefully it was none of you. I had a fun break. I especially enjoyed it when the snow gods blessed us with over 5 feet of snow at our local ski area, Snowy Range. It did that over like a week, but I nailed 2 incredible powder days, the best ones I've ever had up at Snowy Range. So that was fabulous. It was delightfully deep. And now finally we have a mountain range with snow that we can play in. So hopefully the rest of you guys that love to play in the snow are doing the same thing. All right, let's talk about COVID. Before we get started, I want to thank Tricia Flores and Nikki Reitmeyer for getting the information about the current state of affairs of COVID at the state. I appreciate you guys. Also, since the pandemic is ever-changing, fluid situation, this episode is very time and date specific. Okay, so if you're watching it much past the weeks of January 15th to the end of January, you may want to find out if things are different now. Okay, today I'm going to tell you what the policies are now. Let's start with the basics. Masks. Okay, mask policy at the state is set by the director of each agency. All right, so if you are just heading back to the office for the first time, or if you're going to visit another agency, all right, find out before you go whether or not they are requiring masks. Let's just keep that simple. Next, if you have possibly been exposed or are showing symptoms of COVID, you can get a COVID test that is no cost to you, okay, or us. Cigna will cover it for now. They're constantly reevaluating this and coverage could change, okay? The bottom line is that currently, okay, they're free to you and me. Now, Cigna won't cover it if it's simply so you can go on a trip to Cancun, all right? You must have possibly been exposed or showing symptoms. Okay. However, as you have probably heard, okay, the federal government has purchased a ton of home tests and they'll be available soon. As of now, the ordering site isn't up yet, but I'm sure it will be soon. And I also assume that those tests can be used for whatever you would like. Well, it seems that soon was pretty much the minute after I recorded. You can now go to covidtests.gov and pick up 4 free at-home COVID-19 tests per household. Now let's talk about leave associated with COVID and the vaccine. Okay, first of all, the policy makes it very clear that the hope is that people can telework. Okay, any admin leave will only be allowed if you're unable to telework. I'm going to revisit that in a minute. Also, while the state personnel system does not ordinarily provide regular leave to AWAC and TPO1 folks, the COVID-19 administrative leave policy applies to both. First, the policy goes through a bunch of negatives, okay? Basically, when COVID admin leave will be denied. Instead of going through those, let's concentrate on when it will be granted. Okay, so the factors to be considered in determining whether COVID-19 admin leave applies include whether we have the option to telework, in which case we must telework instead of using the leave, okay? Whether the governor or state health officer has ordered the closure of your agency or your building, okay? Whether we have been directed by the agency to self-quarantine, whether we've been directed by a doctor to self-quarantine, whether we've been diagnosed with COVID-19, whether we have been in direct contact with a person that has been diagnosed with COVID-19, And finally, whether we provide an essential government service that, if limited, would adversely impact the agency's ability to function. Okay, now I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that even if your job is deemed essential, if you are horribly sick with COVID-19, you will be allowed to take leave. But do not quote me on that. Okay, so these are the factors used to determine if you can use leave. Once it's determined that you're eligible for COVID-19 leave, HRD will determine the amount needed. This is initially up to 5 working days. HRD will then reevaluate at the end of the 5 days to see if more time is needed. COVID admin leave can also be used if schools or daycares are closed due to COVID-19. The HRD admin may grant 20 days of COVID-19 admin leave to us under the following circumstances, all of them, okay? We are the custodian of a child under 13 years of age or a child under 18 years of age who has disabilities that require full-time care, and the school or daycare which the child attends has closed due to COVID-19, and we are unable to telework. However, if childcare responsibilities are shared between 2 state employees, either because both employees are parents or guardians of the child, they share custody of the child, or share a household with the child, then COVID-19 admin leave will only be granted under this policy if neither of the state employees can telework, once again, and the 20 days granted must be shared among the two. Okay, so only 20 days total for the household, not 20 and 20, not a 40-day. All right. Also, something to keep in mind, COVID admin leave doesn't have to be taken consecutively. All right. So if you can telework intermittently or find someone to help with childcare intermittently, then you can spread out the leave. Okay. Also, 1 hour of COVID leave is approved for getting the vaccine. So 1 hour per shot. Okay. And up to 3 days of admin leave can be used to recover from the shot if you need to. Okay. Also, up to 10 days of admin leave can be used for the time that you're waiting for a COVID-19 test result. However, if the test result comes back negative, then the remainder of the days will have to be sick leave. As with all COVID admin leave, the HRD administrator has the authority to approve beyond these general guidelines on a case-by-case basis with a detailed request. Okay, so if you're feeling sick beyond the 5 days, it is possible to get more admin leave. I know some people are sick for a very long time. I feel like I need to revisit the teleworking thing. So far, it sounds like if you're able to telework, that you're unable to use admin leave. This is not true. Okay. If you are unable to telework because you are sick with COVID, or your younger child needs care due to a daycare closure, then you are unable to use telework. Okay. So you can use the leave. Hopefully that's clear. To finish out the admin leave section, the time code to use for this is salaried folks, ADQRT, and hourly, HRAQT. Meanwhile, scientists are learning more and more about the disease every day, and they're adjusting the guidelines based on this knowledge, right? The Wyoming Health Department just released new quarantine and isolation guidelines based on the CDC's new guidelines. These guidelines are quite complicated, and they recommend different procedures based on vaccinated or not vaccinated, fully vaccinated or not fully vaccinated, date of the last shot, okay? So I'm going to give you the link down below in the page notes to the CDC website. It's much more clear there, all right? Also, the recommendations for healthcare and correctional facilities are slightly different, so I'll put a link to that down there as well. Okay, remember, if you are watching this much past the release date, you will definitely want to check with your supervisor or HR to see if things have changed. Honestly, you'll want to do that anyways, because that's kind of the nature of COVID. Right now, there are a lot of people getting sick or dealing with COVID in one way or another, so it's good to know your options. All right, that's it for today. Be careful out there and stay well. I'll see you next time.
You have been watching the Subject Matter Minute with Matt Nagy. Please help us out by subscribing. And join us next month when we'll cover another topic of interest for all State of Wyoming employees. Again, thank you for joining us on the Subject Matter Minute.